When light walks into the room, shadows panic. Some people don't plot against you because you did anything wrong. They plot because your existence reminds them their masks are slipping. Ever noticed how peaceful things get until your name enters the chat? That's not coincidence. That's spiritual static. Studies even show that jealousy activates the same region of the brain as physical pain, meaning some folks are literally allergic to your blessings. And the irony? They keep trying to throw you off your path, not realizing you are the path. You're not the obstacle in their story. You're the plot twist in God's script. Their strategy meetings are really just group therapy sessions for people who can't figure out why your peace survived their chaos. It's funny, they're busy setting traps while heaven's over here turning those same coordinates into your stepping stones. What they don't know is that your blessing isn't fragile, it's factory sealed. You're not walking around hoping for favor. Favor's been stalking you since birth, and it doesn't take detours. So buckle up, because the plot isn't about them trying to stop you. It's about them learning they were never the main characters in the first place. Number 1, they're not fighting you. They're fighting the evidence that you're real. The truth is, your existence unsettles people who've built their confidence on illusions. They spent years convincing themselves that favor, light, or divine protection were just fairy tales. Then you showed up, walking proof that it's real. And not only real, but reachable. That's what threatens them. You don't just talk about faith, strength, and resilience. You live it. Every time you rise, they're forced to confront what they could have been if they had stayed true instead of settling. You have to understand, envy doesn't always look like hate. Sometimes it looks like subtle discrediting, mockery, or silence when you succeed. They're not fighting you because you wronged them. They're fighting because you expose the emptiness in their own choices. You move differently. Your energy is unbought, your confidence isn't borrowed, and your peace isn't dependent on anyone's approval. That alone makes some people uncomfortable. You're living evidence that inner power can't be faked, and that's something pretenders can't tolerate. People who thrive on appearances can't stand authenticity because it makes their image crack. When they see your calm, it reminds them of their chaos. When they see your faith, it reminds them of their doubt. When they see your progress, it exposes how long they've been running in circles. You became a mirror, not one they asked for, but one they can't ignore. And because they can't destroy what's inside you, they try to attack what surrounds you. They gossip, they exclude, they plot, anything to regain the illusion of control. But the problem is, truth doesn't unexist once it's revealed. They're not just reacting to your presence. They're reacting to what your presence proves. You stand as evidence that divine timing is real, that you don't have to compromise your integrity to win, that peace after pain is possible. That evidence burns holes in their excuses. It dismantles their comfort zones, so they push back, hoping to dim what they can't understand. But your light isn't powered by validation. It's powered by alignment. They can't shut off what they never started, and the harder they fight the evidence, the louder it echoes. You didn't come to convince anyone. You came to confirm that truth always exposes itself, even when it walks in wearing your name. Number 2, they're trying to interrupt what they can't interpret. When people can't make sense of you, their first instinct is to control you. They don't understand your peace, your intuition, or how you keep standing after everything that should have broken you, so they label it arrogance, luck, or coincidence. But what's really happening is this. Your frequency doesn't match their logic. You move by alignment, not approval. You operate on divine timing, not human schedules. That's what confuses them. And confusion always turns into resistance when ego is involved. You're not hard to understand. They're just too attached to surface thinking. They expect success to look desperate, confidence to sound loud, and blessings to come from predictable places. But you show up quietly, move with purpose, and shift atmospheres without trying. That disrupts the rules they've built their lives around. You're evidence that grace isn't earned through manipulation, and that scares people who rely on manipulation to stay relevant. So they'll do anything to interrupt your flow, start rumors, create distractions, pick at your peace, not because they hate you, but because they can't decode you. Some people can only handle what they can define. The moment they can't label you, they lose control. You represent something their vocabulary doesn't include. Your resilience makes no sense to them. How do you still shine after betrayal, loss, or rejection? How are you still kind when cruelty is easier? To them, that's unsettling. They can't interpret divine design, so they try to interrupt divine order. But confusion can't cancel what's already chosen. They'll try to get a reaction, because your stillness exposes their noise. They'll try to throw chaos your way, because your peace reveals how powerless their schemes really are. But interruption is only temporary when your purpose is permanent. The more they try to misread you, the more you rise beyond their comprehension. You weren't made to be understood by everyone. You were made to be recognized by the right ones. At the end of the day, their misunderstanding is their own mirror. It reflects how limited their sight has become. And while they're busy trying to interrupt what they can't interpret, your mission keeps unfolding, untouched and unexplainable, because destiny doesn't need to be understood to be unstoppable. Number 3, their strategy is delay, not defeat. When people realize they can't destroy you, they shift tactics. They stop attacking your progress directly and start trying to slow it down. They know they can't take what's meant for you, so they aim to tire you out before you get there. It's not about breaking you, it's about distracting you, draining you, and making you doubt your own timing. Delay is their weapon, because frustration breeds self-sabotage. If they can convince you to lose patience, they never have to lift another finger. You'll notice how obstacles start showing up the moment you gain momentum. The calls stop coming, the support disappears, the people you trusted suddenly go quiet. It's not random. It's a strategy to make you believe nothing's working, so you'll retreat right before the breakthrough. But divine timing isn't a guessing game, it's precision. Every setback, every pause, every reroute is accounted for. The delay doesn't mean the blessing changed, it means you're being refined to handle what's on the other side. The universe won't let you carry an unprepared version of yourself into a destiny that requires maturity. The ones plotting against you think time is their advantage. They assume you'll get tired waiting. They assume you'll lose focus when the noise gets loud. They don't realize that chosen ones don't quit. They transform in silence. While they think they're stalling your progress, you're evolving behind the scenes. You're learning patience, discernment, and emotional control, tools that will protect your blessing when it finally arrives. Their delay tactics only strengthen what they tried to weaken. Delay is not denial, it's disguise. It's the universe making sure your next chapter can't be contaminated by those who were never meant to enter it. They think slowing you down is victory, but all they're doing is giving you more time to grow into the person who can't be shaken. What they thought was a trap was really training. What they thought would frustrate you ended up fortifying you. When the blessing finally lands, it will be so aligned, so complete, that you'll understand why it couldn't have come a moment sooner. The delay was divine strategy. They wanted you to stop, but God used the waiting to make sure you'd never have to start over again. Number 4, your blessing is too loud for their whisper campaigns. They can talk all they want, but words can't compete with evidence. You're not blessed by opinion, you're blessed by alignment, And that's something no rumor can rewrite. People who can't match your energy will always try to control your image. They'll gather in circles to discuss you, twist moments into stories, and plant seeds of doubt in others. But gossip is the language of the powerless. It's a desperate attempt to shrink what they can't touch. Your growth, your favor, your quiet confidence, all of it speaks louder than anything they could ever fabricate. The truth is, the universe doesn't need a publicist. Energy announces itself. You don't have to defend your name when your light is already telling your story. Blessings have their own volume, and yours is deafening to those who rely on noise to feel relevant. They think they're damaging your reputation, but they're really advertising your presence. Every time they whisper, they draw attention to what you carry. Every lie becomes free marketing for your destiny. They can manipulate perception, but they can't manipulate frequency. And energy always reveals what words try to hide. You've reached a level where being misunderstood is part of the process. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be recognized by alignment. The people who need your energy will feel it, even through the noise. Those who fall for the gossip were never meant to walk with you anyway. Let them misunderstand. It's how they disqualify themselves quietly. Meanwhile, your blessing keeps expanding, opening doors they can't even see. The funny thing is, the more they talk, the more they confirm your significance. No one whispers about the ordinary. They only whisper about the undeniable. You became their favorite topic not because you failed, but because you succeeded in ways they can't explain. So let them talk. Let them project. Let them invent stories. None of it can silence what's already been decreed. Your blessing isn't based on reputation. It's based on recognition from higher realms. And that kind of favor doesn't need defending. It only needs unfolding. Number 5, you're the portal they fear, not the person. What unsettles them isn't your presence. It's what your presence activates. You carry an energy that rewires atmospheres. When you walk in, things shift, not because you're trying to be noticed, but because your frequency carries new codes. People who operate on outdated energy feel it immediately. Their spirits recognize that you're a carrier of change, and change threatens anything built on control. You don't just participate in environments, you transform them. That's why they start glitching around you. Their comfort zones can't function in the vibration you bring. You're not ordinary energy. You're an update from higher realms. You were designed to bring correction to systems that have been running on ego, deception, and fear. So when you show up, everything false begins to shake. People don't always understand why they feel uneasy around you. It's because your light exposes what's been pretending to be truth. You didn't come to blend in. You came to reset the energy of whatever space you enter. And that reset doesn't ask for permission. It just happens. They don't fear you as a person. They fear what awakens through you. You're the bridge between spiritual order and earthly chaos. You download wisdom, insight, and discernment that others can't access because you're connected to a higher network. While they're busy gossiping, plotting, or pretending, you're receiving instructions straight from divine intelligence. That's why they don't understand your decisions. They're trying to interpret you through logic when you're operating through revelation. You're built on a system their minds can't read. So when they resist you, it's not personal. It's spiritual. Their systems start crashing the moment your energy enters the equation. You trigger exposure, healing, and accountability all at once. The version of them that survives on manipulation or pretense can't breathe in your frequency. And the truth is, you were never meant to be liked in rooms you were sent to upgrade. They sense the shift, even if they can't name it. Deep down, they know you represent something they can't control: evolution. You are the proof that divine updates still happen through human vessels. You're the portal they fear because your presence signals the end of what no longer aligns. Number 6. They can't hex what heaven has handwritten. That's the part your enemies keep forgetting. Your path isn't built on luck or coincidence. It's written in permanent ink by divine order. No amount of envy, rumor, or dark intention can rewrite a plan that was sealed before they ever learned your name. You're not powered by their approval, so you can't be paralyzed by their rejection. When something is heaven-signed, it becomes untouchable. People can plot, curse, or speak against you all they want. It only exposes their powerlessness. Because you're not under a contract that can be cancelled, you're under a covenant that can't be broken. There's a reason every scheme against you ends up collapsing in on itself. The energy they send returns to sender, multiplied. It's not magic, it's divine order. When your intentions are clean, the universe defends you without you having to lift a finger. Every attempt to sabotage you becomes evidence in your favor. The moment they move in deception, they trigger their own undoing because you're not walking on borrowed favor. You're walking in written destiny. And no one can edit what heaven has already published. The people trying to curse you underestimate how protected you really are. They think power is about control, when real power is about alignment. You're not guarded by superstition. You're guarded by purpose. The covenant over your life is a spiritual contract signed in a language envy can't read. Even when it looks like things are falling apart, it's just divine insurance rearranging the scene to expose false intentions. What was meant to destroy you only ends up validating who you are. You don't need to defend yourself from their rituals or whispers. Protection is automatic when purpose is authentic. What's written for you doesn't need your panic. It needs your peace. Every time they try to hex you, they remind heaven why you're chosen. You were never meant to be intimidated by darkness. You were meant to reveal how powerless darkness becomes in the presence of divine assignment. They can chant, they can plot, they can hate, but destiny doesn't take orders from human mouths. It listens only to the handwriting of heaven, and yours has already been signed, sealed, and delivered. Number 7. Their plot is fuel, not fire. The truth is, every time someone tries to work against you, they end up pushing you closer to your purpose. What they meant to burn you with becomes the very thing that lights your path. You're built in a way that turns pressure into progress and betrayal into breakthrough. You don't just survive attacks, you evolve because of them. That's why nothing they plan ever works the way they expect. They set the trap thinking it will stop you, not realizing you've been anointed to rise through resistance. There's something about divine wiring that confuses the enemy. The more they conspire, the stronger your spirit becomes. It's not arrogance, it's transformation. Every setback you faced trained your endurance. Every lie taught you discernment. Every betrayal sharpened your instincts. While they were wasting time plotting, heaven was converting their energy into your momentum. You've become a living example of spiritual alchemy, turning every dark thing aimed at you into power that propels you forward. They keep mistaking your calm for defeat, not realizing its focus. You've learned that fire doesn't scare you when you're made of flame. Their hate becomes heat, and that heat forges you into something indestructible. It's almost poetic. Their schemes become your supply. The more they talk, the higher you rise. The more they try to block you, the faster divine timing accelerates. They're building ladders for your elevation without even knowing it. You were designed to turn opposition into opportunity. What was sent to weaken you actually keeps proving how chosen you are. That's why it's impossible for you to lose. Every loss recalibrates you towards something greater. You don't even have to retaliate. The laws of energy handle that for you. Everything sent against you must return transformed. So when they plot, don't panic. Thank them. They're unknowingly fueling your evolution. What they meant for fire became your fuel, and what they thought would destroy you only confirmed your destiny. You're not just surviving their attacks, you're powered by them. Every scheme adds pressure, and every bit of pressure turns into purpose. That's divine efficiency, your enemies working overtime to ensure your victory. Number 8, you're not being tested, you're being documented. So many people think the struggle is a pass or fail situation, but it's not. You already passed the test when you decided not to give up. What's happening now is record keeping. Heaven is gathering evidence, not to see if you can endure, but to confirm that your promotion is deserved. Every time you stay calm when you could have snapped, every time you choose grace over revenge, every time you keep showing up despite exhaustion, it's all being written down, not for punishment, but for proof. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're in testimony mode. The delays, betrayals, and disappointments are not random. They're timestamps on your growth. The universe isn't asking, will they make it? It's saying, watch how they do it. Every sacrifice you've made, every injustice you endured quietly, every moment you held your tongue when you could have exposed someone, that's spiritual evidence. It's building a case for your restoration so that when your blessing arrives, no one can argue that it wasn't earned. People around you might think nothing's happening, that all your good deeds went unnoticed. But divine systems don't move by public applause. They move by quiet integrity. Every hidden act of discipline, every time you prayed instead of panicked, every moment you forgave without getting closure, those moments weigh heavily in spiritual law. Heaven doesn't bless noise, it blesses consistency. And you've been consistent even when it felt like no one was watching. When your breakthrough comes, it won't be luck. It'll be evidence revealed. The same people who doubted you will witness how the universe rewards obedience, patience, and purity of intention. Your story is being documented not just for you, but for everyone who needs to see that righteousness still wins. That's why the process feels so prolonged. Documentation takes time. So don't confuse silence with neglect. The recording is still running. Every action, every decision, every test of restraint is being logged for divine justification. When the tables turn, and they will, no one will be able to question your rise. It'll be clear that it wasn't favoritism, it was record keeping. Heaven wasn't testing you to see if you could make it. It was gathering proof that you already have. Number 9, they mistook isolation for weakness, but it was installation. When you were pulled away, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You weren't being excluded, you were being equipped. The silence that felt like exile was actually sacred space where divine hands were working on your system. You weren't abandoned, you were being rewired. While they assumed you had fallen off, you were actually downloading new levels of wisdom, resilience, and spiritual clarity that couldn't be installed in noisy environments. The solitude wasn't a setback, it was set up for your next dimension. People who operate on surface energy can't comprehend that isolation is often heaven's classroom. Growth doesn't always happen in public. Sometimes it happens in hidden places, where your spirit gets recalibrated. You had to be disconnected from certain people and environments because their energy would have interfered with the upgrade. They couldn't understand that your quiet season was divine surgery, removing attachments, healing old wounds, and restoring power you didn't even realize you'd given away. You weren't losing connections, you were gaining capacity. While they laughed, thinking you were lonely, you were learning the sound of your own frequency again. You were learning to trust your intuition, to hear guidance without external noise. That isolation taught you emotional independence, the kind that can't be manipulated or controlled. You became whole without applause, and that's the kind of strength that terrifies people who depend on attention to feel alive. You stopped chasing validation, and in doing so became magnetic to alignment. Now the very people who mocked your silence will have to watch the results of it. What they thought was weakness was preparation. The retreat they misread as retreat was actually strategy. You came out of isolation not empty, but upgraded, mentally sharper, spiritually stronger, and energetically refined. That's why you no longer fit in the places that once accepted you. You evolved beyond their frequency. The truth is, divine installation always requires temporary disconnection. You can't download destiny with distractions in your ear. So the season of isolation was never about loss. It was about loading. And now that the process is complete, you're walking proof that separation was never punishment. It was programming for elevation. Number 10, you're not in their league. You're their lesson. You were never sent to compete with anyone. Your purpose runs on a completely different frequency. What they see as rivalry is really revelation. You weren't placed near them to prove your worth. You were placed there to show what happens when someone walks in alignment instead of ego. That's why their jealousy burns so deeply. It's not hatred, it's conviction. You represent what they could have been if they hadn't settled for shortcuts, excuses, or imitation. Your presence silently exposes every compromise they made with their own destiny. They can't stand you, not because you wronged them, but because your discipline highlights their inconsistency. Your peace reminds them how much energy they've wasted chasing validation. Your glow is living proof that obedience still produces outcomes. They see in you the version of themselves that gave up, and that reflection hurts. Instead of humbling themselves to learn, they project their discomfort onto you. That's why they try to compete, copy, or discredit. But you can't compete with someone who's not even playing the same game. You're not running laps, you're walking in purpose. The reason you keep rising while they keep recycling is alignment. You don't move by impulse, you move by instruction. You're not chasing results, you're following rhythm. That difference makes you unpredictable to those who rely on appearance. They measure success by attention, you measure it by peace. And that's what sets you apart. You're not striving, you're flowing. They were meant to be inspired by you, but their pride turned them into spectators instead of students. That's why you had to outgrow the need to explain yourself. Your elevation will teach louder than your words ever could. You're not their rival, you're their reminder. Your success isn't to shame them, it's to awaken them. Soon enough, they'll realize the truth. You weren't placed in their path to compete, but to confront. Your light isn't there to overshadow them, it's there to show them what obedience looks like in human form. You were never in their league because you don't play by limitation. You're their lesson in what happens when grace meets consistency. And nothing about that can be matched, only witnessed. Number 11. They're playing chess on a board you already outgrew. They still think life is about moves, manipulation, and control. But you stopped playing that game the moment you became spiritually conscious. You used to react, defend, and strategize like them until you realized true power isn't about outsmarting people. It's about outgrowing the need to engage at all. While they're still calculating their next play, you're operating in a realm where peace is already declared checkmate. The game ended, and they didn't get the memo. They still think they can pull strings behind the scenes, whisper here, manipulate there, twist a story, or create division. But you've transcended the level where that even affects you. Their tactics only work on those who crave validation or fear loss. And you've detached from both. You don't chase outcomes anymore because you trust divine timing. You don't compete because you understand energy sorts itself out. That's what they can't comprehend. You no longer need to win because you've already aligned. They're still playing for power, you're playing for purpose. And those are two completely different arenas. Power needs an audience, purpose moves in silence. They're still addicted to reactions, to being seen as clever while you've learned that wisdom doesn't announce itself. It simply manifests results. You became untouchable the moment you realized you don't need to prove awareness to people still living by illusion. They keep trying to bait you into conflict, thinking you'll respond like before. But you've matured past emotional traps. You don't argue where truth will reveal itself naturally. You don't explain when alignment will do the talking. The more they try to move pieces around you, the more they expose their own limitation. You're not even on the board anymore. You're observing from higher ground, watching them exhaust themselves in a game that can't touch your dimension. That's why they're frustrated. Their strategies don't work anymore because you stopped giving them energy to feed on. You're operating on intuition, not impulse, on flow, not force. While they're playing chess in shadows, you're building kingdoms in light. They still think it's a game of moves, but you've realized once awareness expands, manipulation collapses. You didn't just win, you outgrew the entire board. Number 12. Their access expired when your awareness activated. The moment you started seeing people for who they truly are, not who they pretended to be, something in the spiritual realm shifted. You stopped being accessible to manipulation. The same people who used to drain you emotionally, twist your empathy, or play on your kindness suddenly lost their grip, not because you confronted them, but because you saw them. Awareness is spiritual authority, and once you operate from it, the illusion that gave them power disappears. People who thrive on confusion need you to stay blind to their true motives. They depend on your over-explaining, your forgiving too quickly, your willingness to give the benefit of the doubt. That's their access point. The moment you started listening to your intuition instead of excuses, that access closed. You didn't need to announce anything, block anyone, or seek revenge. The vibration simply shifted. Their calls stopped hitting the same, their presence stopped feeling necessary, and your spirit began rejecting what used to drain you. That's awareness doing its work. Quiet, precise, and irreversible. When your discernment heightens, your energy becomes protected by default. You no longer attract chaos disguised as connection. You start noticing how some people only come around when they need something or when they sense your light is brighter. You notice how conversations that used to feel normal now feel heavy. That's your spiritual firewall updating in real time, filtering out anything that no longer aligns. It's not arrogance. It's self-preservation through clarity. The beauty is, awareness doesn't require confrontation. When you understand energy, you stop arguing with behavior. You just detach and let the truth reveal itself. You don't need closure from people who were never honest to begin with. Their absence becomes the confirmation. Their silence becomes the apology. The more you see, the less they can stay. That's why certain connections fell apart the moment you started healing. Your vision cleared. What used to charm you now feels off. What used to inspire you now feels fake. That's not loss. That's liberation. They didn't leave because you changed. They left because your awareness canceled their access. And once your spirit updates, there are no re-entries. No matter how hard they knock, expired energy never gets renewed. Number 13. Your blessing isn't coming. It's converging. You're not waiting on the universe. The universe has been waiting for you to reach the frequency that matches what's already yours. Everything that's meant for you has been moving quietly in your direction, aligning people, opportunities, timing, and even challenges to prepare the space. Nothing you've been through was random. It was all choreography. Every disappointment, every delay, every loss was a rearrangement to clear the runway for what's inbound. Your blessing isn't lost in transit. It's in formation, syncing perfectly with the version of you that can hold it. What looks like waiting is actually weaving. Behind the scenes, Connections are being made that you don't yet see. The right people are being positioned. Divine timing is being calibrated, and lessons are being sealed into wisdom. You're not being overlooked, you're being aligned. The favor you've been praying for didn't forget your name. It's been orbiting your energy, waiting for your healing, your awareness, your clarity to stabilize so it can safely land. And the irony is, the pressure you've been feeling, the stress, the resistance, the tension, isn't pushing your blessing away, it's pulling it in faster. Resistance always accelerates revelation. The same way friction sparks fire, the opposition you're facing is creating the heat that triggers manifestation. The people trying to block you are unknowingly pushing you into divine precision. Their interference is actually synchronization. Every bit of pressure is confirmation that the convergence is close. You're stepping into a season where everything starts to make sense at once. Things you thought were dead ends will suddenly connect into destiny. Doors that stayed shut will open without effort. Conversations, ideas, and encounters will start fitting together like puzzle pieces that were always meant to align. You're not chasing blessings anymore. You've become the gravitational pull that attracts them. It's all converging, not someday, not maybe, but inevitably. The divine isn't still deciding whether to bless you, it's already in motion. The orbit is closing in, the timing is locking in, and soon what's been aligning in secret will collide with your reality. You're not waiting for your moment. Your moment is finally catching up to you. Number 14. The plot against you was the proof you were the plan. You were never the random target of jealousy or hate. You were the disruption in a system that depended on your silence. If you were irrelevant, they wouldn't waste the energy. The very fact that so many people, conversations, and coincidences seem to align against you is evidence that you hold something powerful enough to make darkness organize itself. You don't trigger chaos because you're unlucky. You trigger it because your energy exposes what's been pretending to be order. They gathered to stop you, not realizing you were sent to expose the gathering itself. Every whisper, every manipulation, every fake alliance was allowed to surface so you could see the architecture of deception clearly. The betrayal wasn't random, it was revelation. You were meant to walk through the fog so you could name the shadows hiding in it. The setup wasn't for your destruction, it was for your awakening. And the more they plotted, the more God pulled back the curtain. They thought they were sabotaging your journey, but they were actually revealing your map. When you carry purpose, you don't get peace by default. You get proof through opposition. It's the testing that identifies the real ones. It's the betrayal that refines your discernment. You can't carry divine strategy with naive trust in everyone's intentions. That's why you were shown what you were shown. Every lie, every two-faced interaction, every cold shoulder was an invitation to evolve past emotional blindness. They were the syllabus for your spiritual graduation. Now you can see the pattern. The same people who tried to silence you were unintentionally advertising your significance. The more they discussed you, the more attention they drew to your light. The more they conspired, the more divine protection tightened around you. They thought they were pulling strings, but you were never their puppet. You were the assignment. The plot didn't prove your vulnerability. It confirmed your authority. You were the divine countermeasure they didn't expect, sent not to blend in, but to reveal. Their schemes didn't delay you, they documented you. The moment they conspired, your purpose became undeniable. They thought they were creating your downfall, but in reality, they were helping write the evidence of your destiny. Everything we've explored here is not just motivation. It's a wake-up call. You are not ordinary. Every challenge, every betrayal, every plot against you has been a signal that you are moving on a frequency others can't access. When people try to derail you, it isn't proof of your weakness. It's evidence of your power. Their schemes, whispers, and manipulations only highlight the truth. You are chosen, aligned, and unstoppable. You are walking proof that divine strategy operates beyond human understanding, and no amount of envy, deceit, or opposition can overwrite what has already been written for you. Your calm is not surrender. Your silence is not submission. Every moment you endured, every season of isolation, every challenge that seemed unbearable, it was all installation, preparation, and elevation. You've been upgraded in ways they cannot perceive. While they were scheming, you were evolving. While they were trying to break you, you were aligning with forces they can't even comprehend. Their jealousy and fear only reflect the light you carry, the energy you embody, and the destiny you are walking toward. You are the evidence that blessings can't be denied, frequency can't be hijacked, and destiny can't be stalled. What makes you unstoppable isn't just what you've achieved, but what you've learned to carry without flinching. Every plot against you, every attempt to manipulate or distract you, only becomes fuel for your rise. You've become the standard of alignment, the example of resilience, and the living confirmation that energy, not words, not schemes, shapes reality. Your presence interrupts false systems, exposes hidden agendas, and illuminates what was meant to stay concealed. You are a force that moves in sync with purpose, not ego. You are a portal of change, a proof of divine precision, and a reminder that when destiny calls, no one can interfere. So embrace your journey fully. Know that every obstacle, every opponent, and every trial was never meant to stop you. It was meant to reveal you. Stand firm in your power, trust in the timing, and move with the awareness that nothing can undo what has already been decreed for you. Your light is undeniable, your favor is unstoppable, and your blessings are converging in ways that will leave the world in awe. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment your thoughts below, and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth today. Your rise isn't just yours. It's an awakening for everyone who witnesses it. Stay blessed always.